What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to this week's video. What this week's video is on, we are making an L-shaped table with 2 tiers of shelving and with 1 secret storage compartment. So we have our 5 cuts made at 28 inches in length. I then ran them through my planer on all 4 sides, get them nice and squared up. So now what we need to do is create our back bracing for what's going to connect these all at the top. So I'm going to make a cut at 36 inches and a cut at 40 inches. Alright, so the next thing we are going to do, we are going to take our 2 13-inch pieces here. These are going to be our connecting braces for our top frame here. It might not make sense now, but I promise it will. So we have these 2 13-inch pieces. I'm going to plane these real fast on all sides. And then we're going to start some assembly with some pocket holes. So, yeah. As we can see, all of our 2x4s are now cut, sanded, stained, pocket holed, all of the good stuff that we need done. Now we are going to work with some 2x6 here. We're going to make 2 cuts at 13 inches. Then we should have enough material left over for a 36-inch cut. And then we will sand that, stain that. We'll also plane it. And then we will need to go buy more 2x6 because that'll just be part of the framing for the second shelf on the bottom, which is also going to be housing our hidden compartment. Alright guys, so we have our 2x6s cut, stained, pocket hold. I put in 3 just to be safe, to have extra protection in there. And now the next thing we are going to do is start assembling this together. So what we have here, we have our piece of 2x6 that we're going to use to create our 36-inch piece of backing for the second shelf. And we need to get this cut, we need to get this milled, sanded, stained, and pocket holed. So that's what I'm going to do. As you can see here, we are all assembled up. A big assist from my dad, making this process way easier. I highly recommend that you have 1 person on hands or like tons of clamps when you get to actually doing the second part of the L shape. So the next thing I need to do is cut another 2x6 at 38.5 inches to square off this first shelf right here. So I'll be back. All of our pieces are now cut up. We have a 38.5-inch piece, a 28.5-inch piece, and 2x6. Obviously that'll be for the bottom shelf. And then we have the same exact measurements in 2x4s, and that'll be for the top shelf. So the next step in the process is assembling these into the frame. So we have our 2 braces in for our 36-inch side right here. And now we need to put in our 2 braces for this part of the L-shaped table. However, I cut those at 28.5 inches, but the actual measurement is 25.5. So I'm going to cut off 3 inches, re-pocket hole one side, and then we will get those secured and in place. Here we are, all braced up now for the main parts. The next thing I'm going to be doing is taking some of my scrap 2x4s and creating the brackets that'll essentially be what we tied the tabletop into. And then we're also going to be creating our brackets for the bottom storage shelf that'll be going in place. So with that being said, let's get to cutting. So first things first, hi Blue, gotta do that in every video. All of our bracket pieces are drying over here. We already pocket holed them. I did not mill any of them because they're not going to be seen. So anywho, what we have over here, I actually had to adjust this side part of the L table because the client needed it 40 inches and I misunderstood him as wanting the storage area to be 40 inches. So I adjusted that down. So now from this corner to this edge is 40 inches. From this corner to this corner is 43 inches. So I'm going to start doing all of our top brackets for the tabletop. And then I'm going to figure out what I want to do to brace in the plywood that'll make the bottom of our storage area. So nothing to it but to do it. Alright, so as you can see, we have all of our top bracing done. I have a bunch of 2x4s left because I was originally going to put the 2x4s at the bottom here, pocket hole those in, and then lay plywood over it. However, I would then lose about 2 inches off the 5.5 inch depth of the 2x6. And so I want to get it as close to 5.5 inches of storage space in that bottom drawer. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take this 1x4, cut it at 14.5 inches, and the current depth from edge to edge is 16 inches. So I'll be able to hide about 3/4 of an inch on each side, pretty much halfway through the 2x6. And that way it'll still be concealed, harder to see, and we won't lose as much depth when we put the plywood in. So that is the next step. I gotta go get some 1x4. Alright, so a quick program, I cut our 7 pieces at 14.5 inches. However, 3 of our pieces were cut down to 13, and that's going to be this corner piece here, that corner piece there, and this corner piece here. Now, the way I chose to lay this out is I'm pretty much mimicking what I did for the top bracing. And that's just a quick program, in terms of our bracing. Obviously, I got these sanded and stained off camera because my camera died again. But so this is now mocked up, laid out. We're going to use some 1.5 inch screws to tie these into our framing here. And then also what I did is I cut, sanded, and stained what's going to be our inserts for our bottom shelves in here. But other than that, let's get everything secured in place, and then we'll put in our shelving down here, and then we'll get the countertop, and then we'll be done. So let's do it. As we can see here, we now have all of our bottom shelving in, touched up some areas with some wood putty, recoated some areas needing stain. So I'm going to let this dry for a bit, and then we're going to start on our tabletops, which I have a bunch of 1x6 in my truck bed. So we will start mapping all of that out. I think the first part I'm going to work on is the tops for the second shelf, because I feel like this part will be pretty straightforward when it comes to cutting. So that'll be the next step. And additionally, because we were working with 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch, so 1 1/4 inch screws, I got 1 1/4 inch trim flathead. I was looking for 1 inch, couldn't find it, but this worked out just as well. This is my first time using trim head screws, and I honestly really like them. I think I'm going to start using them a lot more going forward. So, quick programming note. Notice the stain on my thumb. Annoying. So here we are all mocked up for the first shelf top. I've been debating how I'm gonna do the actual part for the storage area. And what I decided is I'm gonna have to mount this one into place, because obviously with this post in the way, there's gonna be literally nowhere for this whole entire piece to move. So we're gonna secure these into place along the back frame there. And then these 2 boards right here will have a hinge underneath that's hidden, and these 2 boards will then lift up for this area. And then we're gonna mock the same thing up over here, but let's sand these and stain these and then get everything secured. So all of our boards are now stained up, ready to go to be secured. This is our back piece. Now these 2 boards together right here are gonna be the part that lifts up. This is 11 inches in diameter. However, I don't want to have the brace piece that I'm gonna be putting in clip the edge of the frame at all. So we're gonna take some scrap 1x4, cut this to 9 inches. So imagine this at 9 inches, imagine this stained and sand, and then this will be on the bottom of these 2 pieces, and that'll be how we can have the one piece move together for the hidden drawer compartment. So I'm gonna do all that. All right, guys. So a lot of frustrating hours have passed because a lot of my ideas that I had to make this all possible for the hidden storage have pretty much completely failed horribly. But I think I finally figured out a solution. So, as you know, I was saying how I wanted, to run the full boards of the full frame. However, these 2x4s are not making that possible at all. So what we'll have to do is trim off all these extra pieces here, get these boards to 36 inches, and then I put in these shims here so that I'll be able to put those cutoffs over the shims. That'll still make it look like one seamless piece. But as you can see, we tried multiple styles of hinges, between normal hinges, concealed hinges. I redid all the bracing to make this one plank, and it's just been very frustrating overall. I will be popping these off and turning this into one giant board again. I'm going to cut 1x4s at 11 inches, get those sanded, stained, and secured on here. But I think we have the solution. I just wanted to be very transparent about the frustration because that happens on projects. So I'm going to do this idea, hope it works, and if it does, when I'm doing this part right here of the storage compartment, you'll be able to see that full process in all of its glory. So, nothing to it but to do it. Let's go, guys. I am ecstatic right now. We finally got it to function the way I dreamed and hoped for. We are locked in there. The hinges are even a little hidden in the back. You can't directly see them, but this is gonna work out perfectly. I only have 2 on here right now, so I'm gonna put a 3rd one on, but then this section's done, and now I can show you the full process without any interruptions on this side. But I am so happy. I'm gonna obviously put some of the cutoffs that I did from these boards at these edges here so that it seems like a seamless piece. But honestly, I'm so happy. I've been working on this for literally too many hours, but this is done. This part works. I'm so ecstatic. I'm gonna get that 3rd hinge on, and then we're gonna do everything that I did for this side. Alright, so I don't know about you, but I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew. These both work perfectly. Perfect. So there we go. Action shot number 1. Action shot number 2. They don't butt into each other. Ended up taking 1/8 of an inch off of that piece there, just to make sure that there'd be no issues, no butting where they couldn't lift at the same time or anything like that. So that's why I took the 1/8 off. I touched up the side that I cut, obviously, with some more stain. Touched up any white from the board that was showing from the cuts. So those are all set, all good now. The next step we have in place, is to cut all of these trim pieces here so that we can make everything appear to be seamless and connected. I still have my leftover pieces right here from when I initially made all these cuts for this section. So I'm simply going to use these same pieces of offcut, and you can see I already had 1/4 inch plywood on there, but now I'll just essentially combine this to be one piece. Let's see. Sorry. I'll essentially combine this to be one piece like so, with one piece of 1/4 inch plywood that'll run along here, and that should be able to tie us in on both sides. I'll do that for both ends of the boards, and then I'll have to cut 3 new pieces for over here, but that's the same process we'll do for that. So I am gonna check back in with you once I'm done doing that. Alright, as you can see, we have all of our pieces in there. We got wood putty in there to fill all the holes. This one looks like Jose Canseco back in the 80s. If you understand baseball, you get that reference. But we are drying up right now, so here we are, all mocked up with all of our pieces in here. Just to kind of explain the way I did this is I cut our back piece here at 43 inches, as you can see right there. And then I came over, measured this distance, which came out to 34.5. And then the pattern that you get from there, if you're following something similar to this, is whatever your board thickness is, which 1x6 is 5.5 inches, you'll see a decrease in the length by 5.5. So we had 43, 37.5, then 32. Then over here we had our 34.5, 29, followed up by 23.5. So a little bit of tip, information, helpfulness, I don't know. We're just mocked up right now. I think I'm going to leave the bracing as is. I don't think we'll need this in the corner because we'll be tied into 3 studs. And this corner really shouldn't be weak at that point. So the next thing I'm going to do is sand these and stain these. And I will do that, then I will secure them all. You'll see me secure it because sanding and staining is boring. So here we are, all stained up, all sanded down and touched up right there in every which way. Now all we have to do is put some urethane on this, and then we can do some nice B-roll. Well, B-roll, maybe not nice, but I'm trying.